friends, I'm Michellemarki, and have you ever felt frustrated when you've applied to jobs online and not knowing what the salary ranges are expected to be? Or after you've gone through the motions of applying and countless interviews that you then received a lowball offer and you wish you hadn't even applied to that job because it was a colossal waste of time? Well, some of this is fortunately about to change for the better because New York City just enacted landmark legislation on November 1st requiring employers to list base salary ranges on job ads, promotions, and transfer opportunities. And even though places like Colorado have already been doing this since January 1st, 2021, it will even add more momentum to salary pay transparency and encourage more employers, hopefully across the nation, to make it obvious what you could be being paid for. So I'll tell you all about what's going on with this new law. And if you also enjoy getting paid what you deserve, please be sure to hit that like button and subscribe, and let's get into it. As you know, one of the ways to get financially ahead in life is to arm ourselves with the skills and experiences we need in order to boost our earning power. And even if we don't all want to work at a job for the rest of our lives, it can be the necessary fuel for our retirement investing accounts. So some of us need to work at a job for a while before we can retire early. And even if you're not directly affected by the New York City or Colorado laws about pay transparency, you can also use that knowledge to your advantage when you're negotiating your pay in other states. So even though this may not really affect some of you, I think it's definitely helpful in general, just so you can gain awareness, because the other recourse you might have is to check out sites like Indeed or Glassdoor about what some salary ranges might be, but some of them are kind of ridiculous. Like, it's kind of hard to know what the salary really is when it's such a huge range. Like, for an operations manager to make anywhere between $45,000 to $250,000, it's sort of unrealistic when it's not specific enough. So you kind of need to try to get more granular data so that you can assess what your skills might be worth, and that you can also negotiate for fair compensation that pays adequately for your workplace contributions. And another idea that you might have is to ask some of your current colleagues, or if you have acquaintances in the industry through networking opportunities, maybe you can find out what some potential salary ranges might be, and also some other forms of compensation like bonuses or options or equity in the company. These are all ways that you can find out what might be the full package of compensation from a company. But if you're not able to have conversations with people, this might be the next best thing, is to check the similar job title postings in Colorado and New York City to see if a job where you are might be able to offer somewhere close to that range. It might not be necessarily as high, but at least you can kind of get toward the ballpark in knowing what is an egregiously low offer and what is something that looks closer to fair. And so some of what's covered in this law for New York City is that any ad for a job, promotion, or transfer opportunity can or will be performed in whole or in part in New York City, whether from an office, in the field, or remotely from the employee's home. And this is regardless of whether they are seeking full or part-time employees, interns, domestic workers, independent contractors, or any other category of worker protected by the New York City Human Rights Law. And these jobs are required to offer a minimum and a maximum salary range for the job. So they can't leave it open-ended, like saying $15 per hour and up, or maximum $50,000 per year. They have to give you a range. So the guidance says specifically that the salary range the employer honestly believes at the time they are listing the job advertisement that they are willing to pay the successful applicant. So for anyone who's interested, you can expect that the employer should be ready to compensate an employee that successfully goes through the hiring steps, that this would be a respectable salary range. But also, I would go a step further and really try to compare and contrast not just what's stated on the job listing, but look at many job listings and gather evidence for what typically is the range for this role based on years of experience and how much skills are required to get the job done, and a whole range of factors that can give you a better idea of what is a realistic expectation for this salary range. And as an example of how this law only covers base salary ranges, we can take a look at an Amazon position in New York for a software development engineer where the minimum salary is $115,000 per year, all the way up to the maximum of $223,600 per year. And if you're not sure if that's the best range, maybe you can split the difference between these two for an average of about $170,000 per year if you feel like you have more than just the base level required skills and experiences, but maybe you're not the most experiences, like you're somewhere toward the beginning or middle of your career. So maybe you can aim for somewhere in the middle, as that's how I would go about treating that. And this law doesn't require other forms of compensation or benefits such as health, life, or other employer provided insurance, paid or unpaid time off work, such as paid sick or vacation days, leaves of absence, or sabbaticals, the availability of or contributions towards retirement or savings funds, such as 401k plans or employer-funded pension plans, severance pay, overtime pay, or other forms of compensation such as commissions, tips, bonuses, stock, or the value of employer-provided meals or lodging. So at least you can rest assured that whatever your base salary is, you have a stronger position on which to negotiate for that, on top of other kinds of potential bonuses or equity stock options you might be able to qualify for. So I think that this law will help tons of workers because, as you know, I've previously talked about how much there's a wage gap is still across the country, especially among women and people who are diverse. So a lot of times we haven't always been able to get as high of pay. Like women still only get paid 83 cents per dollar that men might make. So this is something that's going to help a lot of the population advance in making sure that their pay is more equitable. This New York City pay transparency law applies to businesses that have at least 4 employees, including the business owner, where at least one person will be working in New York City. And this is whether it's in whole or in part, someone who could be working in an office or in the field or remotely from the employee's home. So even if you're a business that's not based in New York City, but you have job postings that could be done remotely, they could be done by anyone in the US, and that could include someone who lives in New York City and is performing the job remotely. And also, if you're a business that, even if you're New York City based, but the job is to be done entirely outside of New York City, then you don't have to comply with this law. So it kind of goes both ways, but basically there's always a common New York City element if this law is going to apply to the job posting. And if you come across a company that isn't complying with the law, you can file a complaint or leave an anonymous tip with New York City's Commission on Human Rights, and then they will do an investigation. But there's somewhat of a grace period where the company won't be assessed a civil penalty for the first complaint if they can show that they fixed the violation within 30 days. And also, if you're a current employee of a company that you have a claim against, you may also be able to file a lawsuit in civil court. And if a company is found that they're in violation, they may owe civil damages of up to $250,000. So you could be getting some monetary compensation here, or potentially the company has to fix the job ad or also change their policies or do some training or other kinds of recourse as part of reconciling these problems. So there may be some time that's going to take for companies to get up to speed and fully comply with the law. But overall, this could be a generally good thing as far as not only pay transparency is concerned, but also in maybe helping companies hire for the best talent, because some companies like Netflix already hire people at the top of the marketplace salary range. So if more companies strive to pay people well, then this could be potentially a positive flywheel of the more that people know what they're worth and they're getting paid commensurate with their contributions, then they can give their best performance to a company. And that can also improve productivity, because instead of workers dwelling on if they're getting paid enough, you can have them focus on things that matter more. And that means making the company be the best it can be and delivering the best products and services in the end. And while this law currently affects about 4 million New York City-based workers, eventually it will affect way more people. Like, this law will go into effect for the rest of New York State next year. And also it's coming to California, which apparently is becoming the world's 4th biggest economy, in surpassing Germany. So that will be huge if a law of pay transparency will also arrive in California, and hopefully eventually will help the remaining people of the 160 million or so American workers. So I hope that you found this video helpful in giving you some tips so that you can negotiate for the highest pay that you deserve. And let me know in the comments if you have any questions or thoughts to share. I would love to hear from you. And if you enjoyed this video or learned something, please like and subscribe. Till next time.